Thinking of playing Millennium Wars Kashmir. War between India and Pakistan. A one small step simulation. Okay, with the sequence of play, very first I see random events segment. So the players roll on the random events table to determine which event will occur this game turn. Okay, so during the random events segment, players roll 2 dice on the random events table. Each player rolls 1 die. Okay, so the first player in my little demo extended example of play here, first player is the Indian, second player is the Pakistani side. So I think what they're saying is the first player Indian side rolls a 3, second player Pakistani rolls a 1, and we read that as a 31. Player should examine the random events table. So 31 is a world opinion favors underdog. If the political index is currently 67 or more, then subtract 10 from the index. If the political index is currently 33 or less, then add 10 to the index. Okay, so it kind of pushes the political index back towards the middle. So let's take a look at that. So on the side of the map, we have a just a normal information track with 0 to 9. And I think all your number statuses are kept on the side. So game turn. Okay, so the political, we're starting at the very beginning of mission number 1 called Kashmiri Rebels. Of course, I'm not playing that, but I'm using this as a starting point for this extended play example. So I just went with a straight 50 in the middle. You do start. It's the starting political index is called 50 less winning players bid. I didn't do that because each side, it's a very interesting mechanic. I like it, but I'm not going to play that mechanic against myself because each side is supposed to basically bid a number, which will determine player number 1 and 2. But I didn't go through any of that. But that will also adjust the political, where is the player? Also, yeah, shift the political index a number of points equal to the higher player's bid in favor of the low player. Okay, so it will, not only does that player bid, so each player secretly bids, not only will that determine player number 1 and 2, but that will adjust the political track right off the bat, right at the start. I didn't do any of that. So I'm leaving the political, what they call it, political index at 50. So it's 50 minus 0 for that whole bidding mechanic. Okay, so because it's 50, it's right in the middle. It's not 67 or more or 33 or less. So the random event is not going to have an effect. Also on this track, I have recorded the C4I levels for both sides. Indian 2, Pakistani 2. Next would come the air warfare segment. Players roll on the air superiority table to determine which player will have air superiority this player turn. And then there's a reference to the air war expansion system. Okay, so air superiority. During the air warfare segment, players roll 1 die on the air superiority table. Each scenario will give a die roll modifier for air superiority, and that we do have that. But that the air superiority table modifier for this mission number 1, Kashmiri Rebels, is related to NATO intervention. Let's see, one other thing. Okay, there's also another die roll modifier for Indian air reserves, but I'm not going to have the Indian side take that. So, all right, so roll 1 die, a 3 on the air superiority table. Right here, no die roll modifiers, air parity. Okay, no effect. Air parity, no effect. All right. See if there's anything more. No. Players should alternate rolling on the air superiority table. Okay. Now we'll go to the first player turn, so that'll be the Indian side. We start with reinforcements and replacement segment. I'm not going to do anything for this segment. Information warfare segment. We'll get to that, but let me see. Well, actually, let's see if the Indians could use it right off the bat. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play with information warfare attacks. So real quickly, kind of the nuts and bolts. Information warfare is conducted during this information warfare segment. So the friendly player, that's the Indian side, totals the number of units making information warfare attacks. So while I was setting up, I noticed that the Indians have this one cyber cadre here. So that's one. And I noticed that the Pakistanis have one as well. I didn't see any others, so I believe each side has one cyber capable or information warfare capable unit. So that's 1 and 1. Enemy player totals the number of units he is committing to defense. So the Indians are committing 1 unit to defense. The Pakistanis are committing 1 unit to defense. Subtract the defender's total from the attacker's total. We obviously have a 0. This gives the information warfare differential. So roll 1 die. So the Indian player would roll a die. The Indian player rolls a 4. This is the information warfare table. Okay, roll 1 die in the information warfare table. Apply the results immediately. Okay, so are there any... I don't see any die roll I don't see any die roll modifiers. It's 1 through 6. 0. Darn, no effect. All right, so no effect, but we have CM for countermeasure results, FB for feedback, IS and a number for information superiority like IS1, IS2, and then we have ID, information dominance. Very, very interesting. All right, so but still, I think even though there was no effect, I think we go on here. So an information warfare unit committed to defense against an information warfare attack may not conduct an offensive information warfare operation in the same game turn. Place in operations complete. There. Place in operations complete. Marker. On it to indicate this. So the cyber unit there gets an information or operations complete marker there because they defended during that information attack. Only combat effective units may defend against information warfare attacks. So I assume what that means is if the cyber unit was, if it was, if it was disrupted, I think that's what they're talking about. It would not be able to defend. But it was, what do they call it? Combat effective? Okay. Information warfare may take place only in the player's information warfare segment. There's only 1 segment per player turn. Yeah, not per impulse. A player may make more than 1 information warfare attack per friendly information warfare segment as long as no information warfare unit participates in more than 1 attack or defense per turn. So if the Indians had 2 or even 3 information warfare capable units, the Indian player could, I guess, do any combination of attacks using each of those units once. They're not ground combat. They don't cost political points. And obviously units conducting information warfare do not have to be adjacent to enemy units to affect them. If information warfare results in units being disrupted or revealed, so I guess you can have that as a result. The affected units may be chosen from any in play. Okay. All right. Okay, now we're going to go to the first impulse. The first player may always take a first impulse. First player movement phase. So we're going to move in accordance with the movement rules. Okay, I'll say that in front. And what I'm going to do for this little demonstration is I'm going to try to mass a bunch of attacking units against this Pakistani brigade defending in Lahore, right there. So that's what we're going to do using the movement rules. So of note, Infantry division over here, movement allowance of 4. Mechanized infantry, movement allowance of 6. The armored division here, movement allowance of 6. So we're going to mass here against that defender. Okay, in our case here, this movement looks all very straightforward and frankly traditional. So nothing major here. What we're paying attention to here is these are all plain terrain hexes and the locks, lines of communication. So it's 1 movement point for the plane, 1.5 for the lock. So and when we enter a zone of control, so good order or combat effective land units exert a zone of control, 6 adjacent hexes. These units don't have a deep ZOC because none of them have that white circle symbol. So these are the non-deep ZOC capable units. So this is 1/2, 1.5. When they enter a zone of control, they must stop and move no further. So this is 1/2, 1, 1.5, enters enemy ZOC and stops. Okay, 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, stops for enemy ZOC. Stacking is basically 2 units per hex. Yeah, movement. All right, now we'll do reaction phase. Let's talk about reaction movement. So the Pakistani player would be able to do reaction movement now. Basically, they need to be conduct reaction movement with qualified units. Basically, good order. I keep trying to say good order. Combat effective, i.e., not disrupted, not in an enemy zone of control. Headquarters cannot conduct reaction movement. And importantly, a unit must have a sufficient C4I level to conduct operations in that impulse. Okay, but we're in the first impulse. Pakistanis have a C4I level of 2, so that's fine. And they'll move half of their, or 50% of their movement allowance. Okay, so let's move. First of all, let's move that unit out of the way. So the armored cavalry unit there is going to move here, stops because they enter the Indian zone of control there. Oh, and their movement allowance would be 3.5. Oh, yeah, okay, 4. Okay, so 4 movement allowance halved for reaction movement would be 2. So 1.5, 1. I mean, 1/2, 1, 1.5, stop for enemy zone of control. Actually, they'll move 2 up to here, join the armored cavalry. There we go. All right, we'll say that's There's got to be some. I mean, they're losing half of their movement allowance. There's got to be something more. A unit which conducts reaction movement may not conduct movement or combat in its following player turn. Okay. All right. So that was the Pakistani reaction phase. So now we're going to go to first player or Indian combat phase. So, well, they're going to conduct this combat. Just being in a ZOC does not make mandatory combat. So, I think the Indians are still going to try to take out. Now, it's good that it's just one Pakistani infantry brigade, but they are in a city. Okay, first things first with all the combat. So now we're into land combat. A lot of standards. Being in a ZOC, however, does not. So attacking is always. Looks like attacking is always completely voluntary. No unit may attack more than once per friendly combat segment. A given hex can be attacked more than once per combat segment as long as no attacking unit attacks more than once per segment, etc., etc., etc. Land attacks are done against adjacent hexes. You can combine, I guess the attacker can combine adjacent attackers completely by discretion. Defenders defend as a whole. That's all. That all looks very straightforward. Now we do combat odds, which actually looks very traditional as well. So I guess we can do the odds right now. We know the defenders won. Oh wow, okay, so this is going to be 4, 6, plus 5 is 11. 11 to 1. I wonder, yeah, let's not do that. We're only going to attack the front, yeah, these two. So 6 to 1. This armor unit, this infantry division attacking. So 4 plus 2 is 6 to 1. So basic odds, defender's terrain. So that's a column shift. -2 again for the city. City -2. So we go from 6 to 1 down to 4 to 1. Yeah, air superiority was nothing. Air parity. Okay, so now we get to which CRT do we use? We know we can't use the air-land CRT because none of the units in play right now are air-land combat capable. So raid versus the regular one. How do we... The attacking player chooses which combat results table the combat will be resolved on. Okay, this is in fact, I think this is going to be a straightforward basic assault CRT, but I'll mention a few interesting things, and these are not even all the interesting things to be said right now about the basic land combat. But so air-land CRT is not in play here. So between the assault CRT and the raid CRT, very interesting, the raid CRT. If at least 50% of the attacking factors are non-mechanized types, then the defender receives no shift, left or right, for terrain in a hex if the attacker is using the raid table. So this is interesting. 33% or a third, right? Total attacking factors is 6. 2 of those are non-mechanized. So I do not have at least 50%. Doing so means that the Indians could choose the raid CRT and then the defender would not get the city defense for defending in Lahore. So what this means is non-mechanized units are more suitable for combat in rough and urban environments, which makes perfect sense. By the way, I'm going to leave it the way I said. I mean, obviously they could have, changed up the attackers here and gotten at least 50%, but I'm not going to change it. So they're just going to go in the, I guess, what you'd call the standard assault CRT. So again, it's 6 to 1 -2 for the urban or city is 4 to 1. So that's interesting, choosing your CRT. The other interesting thing, just to mention real quickly in passing, is that among all of the column shifts, okay, look, yeah, it looks like everything's a column shift. That's nice, I think. I don't see any DRMs. Looks like everything's a column shift. But you can expend political points. First of all, you can expend political points to get a column shift, and you can also, choose that intensive assault under certain circumstances. Okay. Otherwise, you have close air support. That's with the air war expansion. You have air superiority. You have out of supply, naval support, NATO and non-NATO attacking together. Okay, those are the main ones. So I think it's 4 to 1 standard on the assault CRT. So Indians roll a 2 on the 4 to 1 is a DR. DR defender retreats. All defending units retreat 1 hex. Attacking units may advance into the hex defender is leaving. So does it matter? So let's check on retreating in Zox. All right, what I'm reading is it's just retreat 1 hex. They're going to retreat like that. And because they're retreating in an enemy Zoc, they are disrupted. I think, oh yeah, and then the attacker gets to advance. Let's see if they all get to, well, here's advance after combat. It's conducted immediately. Player designated may move some, all, or none of the land units into the hex formerly occupied. Does not cost any movement points. Advance after combat may be through enemy Zocs. It may not be into or through normal or terrain normally forbidden for the unit to enter. So it looks like we can advance up to the stacking limit. So they will, but actually in this case, I'm only going to advance with the armor. Leave the infantry here to block that lock.